Hello and welcome to the New World Review. I'm Grand Line Waifu and today I am all about lights, camera, and action. My fellow nerds, I have a speech to make. It's very important and I'm glad you've all come together to hear me discuss Tracker episodes 34 and 35, but this is an important message just for you. Do you ever feel like there's a channel owner telling you that you can't use particular words to carry across your needs and thoughts because they have personally become sick of your preferred choice of clothing and the comedic shtick that goes along with it? Do you sometimes wish you could take a popular spinning toy from a certain vacuum-faced strange man with one metal leg and flick it at said channel owner's nose, watching it bounce off into the distance? Do you ever consider the fact that said channel owner keeps using photographs of you to carry across ideas when they could make up entire audiences of an animated version of your face? Do you ever decide on a whim to like or dislike videos edited by this channel runner based on descriptions that very obviously allude to previous videos of well-known shows that are about tracking down something? Do you really like hats? Me neither. Let's discuss Hunter x Hunter episodes 34 and 35. Just so you're aware, this video contains big ol' spoilers. Big spoilers. Schwingin' spoilers. Episode 34 was all about flexing some serious muscle. I enjoyed having a combat-laden fight. And you know what? Compared to shows like Dragon Ball and, well, mostly Dragon Ball, it's nice to have a fight that resolves in one episode normally. But more than that, we had Gon and Killua showing how they learn and change their behavior to be as psychopathic as they can be. Starting the episode with the reminder that Killua threatened Sadako was a fantastic energy balance to bring us into a fight that was, in theory, supposed to be very controlled. The fact that Sadako warned the other two that Killua and Gon were not to be trifled with and simply left town really should have warned them. We've had several situations at this point where people have ignored the warnings of those who have had experiences with our main psychopaths, and they always fail to learn. A few episodes ago, I think I suggested that altering their nen would mean they'd constantly come up against this. Turns out they will always come up against this. The only one who doesn't seem to underestimate them is Hisoka, but we'll get to him later and probably later again given the end of this episode. It seemed really cute, just as a note, for Sadako, for all his ability to get to the 200th floor, was wearing just a slingback bum bag or fanny pack. They're the same thing depending on your global location, don't at me. I have no idea why I'm noticing clothes so much recently, but maybe we should have a fashion show in the end. Yes. I love the scene between the Real Welt, Giro, and Killua. It added a certain je ne sais quoi mais il en fait plus to the episode. These villains, who have seemed very dangerous and creepy just a few episodes ago, very quickly became entirely harmless. The energy shift was sudden and very cleverly done, frankly. It helped us as an audience come to terms with where Killua and Gon were in terms of power, that he could entirely hide his nen from them, something he had been unable to do just a few days ago with Castro. Thinking about these particular villains, there's something I'd like to raise. I'm not sure whether the fact that each of these bad guys having a disability is a good thing or a bad thing. I love that the representation is present and I love that it's so normalized. Sadako having no arm, Guido having one leg, Real Welt in a chair on seriously powered caterpillars. I'd love to hear from people in these groups because this to me feels like one of those things that could swing either way. The power of these characters is evident. They only come to us at the 200th floor. They're very powerful and they beat Gon. They're very clearly talented and capable, even if they are bad, but the fact that they're bad and to be defeated makes my head tilt slightly. To go a little further into Gon being his own psychopathic self, did he have to smash Guido's leg? It's not the storytelling I'm struggling with here. It's fantastic how clear it is that our main characters are awful, that they'll do anything to accomplish their goal. And yes, I know that this is his way of getting payback for their earlier deception. But this behavior in particular, if we were playing one of my nerd games, yes, I play Dungeons and Dragons, I'd have said this was very clearly an evil act. At the point where he was crushing a leg, he could have knocked out Guido. He could have done any number of things that didn't mean essentially snapping the vacuum-faced man's only prosthetic leg in half. At this juncture, I need to say that I have discussed this episode with this guy, and he says that the whole world is full of evil people and that people like my cutie pie Zushi is the aberration because he's one of the only good ones. Okay, sure. But here's where we then say, what are the levels of evil? If we assume the act is evil and he's doing it solely for payback, then he's no better than those he's fighting. He's certainly no better or purer than Kurapika, who wants to kill those who destroyed his entire people. Leorio is suddenly in the same league as Zushi, as the only person whose purpose is to help. Where is Leorio at the moment? Is he just taking exams? Anyway, to cut a long story short, Gon's behavior is pretty awful and his faking out of Reelvelt is equally awful, but kind of funny since Reelvelt is actively tried to kill Killua with them. So hey, that's fun. Now to hopefully see how Gon goes fighting his hunter, pursuer, Hisoka. Yes. Let's discuss episode 35. Okay, but why does it feel like I didn't know Gon's surname before now, and why does it feel as though his name is really important? I'm sure it'll come to me, and I'm sure Liam is putting some kind of spoiler up on the screen about now. We all know I don't actually watch these, I just do the writing and recording, so you'll probably know. We know his dad is an important hunter, and we know he entered the exam to learn why his dad left, and I'm sure there is a lot of information that has been given to us fairly piecemeal, but it's been a long week, and I'm tired, so help me out. But actually I don't want spoilers, not really. I'd actually apparently rather struggle. In other news, congratulations to Gon for leveling up, yay! He finally finished the real exam, which Leorio has not, apparently. I wonder how and when Leorio will learn how to use Nen. I'm really glad we could go back to Arc 1 and take a quick look at how everyone's going. There was something very nostalgic about being able to see old, if not friends, then competitors and how they were going. Killua's blush when he was told to apply for the Hunter exam again totally gave away his acceptance of compliments and showed just how much he actually trusts and respects Wing, who it turns out must be a hunter in his own right. The fact that Netero is the head of the arena is delicious music to my ears. I loved that the other two were as excited, in inverted commas, by the prospect as I was, and it makes me really hope that, frankly, they get to fight him too. Gon got Netero to use both hands when they first met. I wonder what would happen now. I imagine if they had been able to take that basketball, it would have required Nen and would have meant they were indeed immediately qualified to be hunters, which is an interesting bit of information. Zushi, my baby Zushi, just needs more confidence. If he hadn't met Gon and Killua, he would have so much more confidence than he has now, or maybe not, but I like to think so. He's going to make a wonderful hunter one day, my boy. I'm so proud of him. Stay pure, Zushi, and come back as the protagonist of your own series, or maybe the protagonist of this one, because, you know, Killua and Gon are kind of antagonists, let's be honest. Please come back. Between Zushi being cut up about having to train for another 4 weeks and the smooth jazz of that scene with the soft colours of a sunset, I cried in that moment. Anyone who knows me knows I cry at great chord changes in music, so it's not that big a deal, but for me to cry, it means the stakes were high, the music or tone were on point, the voice acting was great and well timed, and the art matched the moment. I don't cry for just anything, I cry because what I saw was satisfying. That scene was simply satisfying. There were a lot of beautiful moments that hit well in this episode, and it was something I really appreciated since we've been through some high octane but not as deep episodes recently. In fact, a discussion about lighting and sound in this episode is in order. The silent moments once we began to head into the fight between Hisoka and Gon were a wonderful juxtaposition. The creep factor was high, as it looked in each of those cuts as though Hisoka was watching Gon prepare. From that moment, however, it was great because we as an audience were removed from Gon and Hisoka's minds and placed into a seat in the stadium. The lights going out were as much for us, and the haze and light and smoke and commercial nature of that scene was also a great counterpoint to the scene before of Zushi and Chicken Wing. In many ways, this episode is one of my favorites, and not only because it's a Hisoka episode. Now that I've said that, however, let's dive into that. I did my best to discuss the rest of the episode first because it was really beautiful, but come on, we know who the main event is. He knows who he is too, and he didn't mind showing his tush to point out he is the main event. I really should have expected the SCHWING of his schlong, partially because he's Ahsoka, and this is what we've been gearing up to since we met him, and partially because we had that slow pan up to his face that put him into one of his sexy time modes. Folks, I don't know how to describe this in ways that remain family-friendly, but it's pretty clear at this point that Hunter x Hunter is not actually a family-friendly show. If my parents had realised how suggestive this show was, I would never have been able to watch it as a child. That said, I got to the end of the South Park movie by myself before they realised just what the cartoons were singing about, so... The odd thing about the sexy scenes that occurred with Hisoka is that the slow pan-up matched perfectly to create innuendo, which was then immediately dropped for our innuendo as we had that bright, bold, hip-flexing SCHWING. Hisoka was having a great time. I'm amazed he even had the presence of mind to stop Gon from fighting. That said, here's an important thing about Hisoka that maybe we haven't discussed properly. He seems like a pedophile, right? He does. I mean, I think he does. Psychologically, though, I think he's getting his SCHWING on because he enjoys seeing the development of potential more than he likes Gon because he's a boy. I may be entirely wrong, and frankly, I'm so loose on this that maybe I am wrong, but I still have some hope, so I'll cling to that the way Liam clings to the hope. I won't use the words or because they're easy laughs. The fight. Hilarious since I mentioned Dragon Ball in the first half of this, we end up in a Dragon Ball-like fight sequence. I would even argue that maybe that's where the inspiration for the sequence came from artistically. But then it does something very Hunter x Hunter that sets it apart very clearly. Gon realizes he needs to change his tactic to beat his opponent. This is really important because in Dragon Ball, the answer to being unable to beat an opponent is to get stronger. But that's not what we do here. It's not what happens. It's fantastic for that. Rather than putting us into Gon's mind, we remain in the audience with Killua. Killua reasoned through the fight and realized right at the last moment that Gon has had the same thought process and follows it to a conclusion that is simply wonderful. Gon hits, and so he can return Hisoka's number tag. He doesn't need to beat Hisoka. He's done what he aimed to do. It's all about whether he will do as Wing told him and not overdo it. And isn't that thought satisfying? But not as satisfying as that time-honored phrase, "That's it from me." Like, share, subscribe, click a thing here, click a thing there, join the Discord server, I hear things happen there, dedicate random pieces of your body to me, I appreciate all the noms I can get, and name a delicious dinner that Liam can make to feed me in the comments below. See you next time.